Hello, listeners. Welcome back. Today's episode is for everyone. And if you like what you've been listening to so far, please rate and review. Every little bit helps. And of course, hit that subscribe button for fresh, new, bi-weekly episodes. And tune in today as I get a chance to sit down with Nick Albaracin, who takes us through his journey as a filmmaker, getting his independent short film off the ground to turn it into a pilot for a series. And it's called The Veil. It's haunting, it's terrifying, and it's well done. Welcome to IPA Sessions. Welcome to IPA Sessions, a podcast for independent artists. I'm your host, Kay Jacob, and as always, we like to provide inspirations for practical application in entertainment. And today I have an amazing guest on. His name is Nick Albaracin. He is a writer and a director and an entrepreneur. He's here today to talk about his short, The Veil. It's a really cool, creepy horror short that he has out in the short circuits right now out there at these festivals. And he's hoping to turn this into kind of a TV series. So I just want to turn it over to Nick. Nick, say hi.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
No problem. Nick, can you kind of just tell us a little bit about yourself? I know that you wrote and directed this short, The Veil, but you're also an entrepreneur. You have your own business. Can you tell us a little bit about you?
Sure. I grew up in Chicago, Illinois, in the city, and went to Columbia College Chicago, where I got my BA in cinema, art, and science. That was the more fancy term other than film and video for some reason. But yeah, so I got that little piece of paper, and after that, reality kind of kicked in. I was kind of looking for work, struggling artist, all that, and got into music. I was a drummer in a band for a while, did the music videos for our own music, and then I eventually started doing music videos for other bands because we would collaborate with bands while touring and things like that. And I remember it happened, I think my band and I were playing in Ohio or something, and they really liked the music and they wanted to check out our stuff on YouTube and everything. And they saw our music videos. They were like, wow, who did that? And it was like, oh, well, not to brag, but that was me. And they were like, wow, think of the money you saved. And I was like, wait a minute, think of the money you could make. So I sort of put this multimedia company together with my best friend, Corey Turek, who also went to Columbia, and we went to high school together. We're basically brothers. And it's called Beyond Elusive. And we do everything from branding to music videos to graphics, all that good stuff. And then, so I was just kind of...
That's a really cool background to have for the film world.
Yeah. Well, it's content, everybody needs content. Everybody needs an online presence. And I just love making films and even music videos. Some people feel that they're above them, but I feel that, they're just so fun, and they're pretty easy because you don't need to worry about sound as much. So that's
it's just a song. And it's cool because you get to tell a story through their music. I think that's neat. Or you get to tell their story through their music. That's cool.
Yeah, you can get really creative with it. Like with films, there's usually a narrative structure, but music videos can be a little bit more artistic and fun. So I've been doing that for a while, and the band unfortunately sort of fizzled out, and now I'm just kind of doing my own thing. And I wrote this short that was initially just a short called The Veil, which I would call supernatural psychological crime thriller. I know that's a lot, but it is pretty complicated, and the characters and everything. The lore was so expansive eventually. I thought it would be a feature, but since it kept building and building, I thought it would be best, and my friends thought it would be best that it would be a series because they could see just seasons of these characters, the layers getting peeled off of them and just getting deeper and deeper into this crazy story.
Well, and that's kind of a clever idea too, because right now, horror series is kind of becoming popular. I mean, look at The Last of Us. I know it's based off of a popular game, but it's doing really well. And then you have these other popular stuff on Netflix, like, the haunted house shows that they've been doing. So I think horror as a series has been really interesting lately in the TV world. And it's fun. I mean, you got to have fun with supernatural stuff. And it allows you to tell a longer, deeper story.
Of course. Yeah. Horror's been really big lately. And lately, independent horror has been making a comeback with Terrifier 2 and those types of movies.
Oh, yeah.
So Yeah. So yeah, this is purely an independent project with The Veil. And and what's crazy about The Veil is that when you watch it, it's only 24 minutes long, but when the short was written, I expanded it out to pilot length. So it's about an hour, that first episode. So when you watch this short film, you're watching a 24-minute proof of concept of that hour-long TV pilot. And that's currently going through the festival circuit now. And yeah, it was a crazy experience because even though it's just 24 minutes and there's not very many characters in it, it took 3 years to make.
Insane.
Yes, it took 3 years to make because of just certain issues that every film production has, but it just kept happening. Different things just kept piling on. And then the kicker, the icing on the cake, the pandemic happened right in the middle of production.
Definitely slows things down.
Yes, it slowed it down for about a year and a half. And then we came back and it really, there were times where it just really didn't seem like it was going to be done. And it would just be easier to cut all our losses and walk away. But I refused to do that. And finally, we had our premiere of the short in August here in Chicago at Facets, which is local theater / video rental house. Really cool place. Highly recommend it to anybody that visits Chicago.
I'll have to put it on my list when I go out there. That sounds great. Let me ask you something. So can you just kind of take us through the technical stuff that you had to deal with? I know you said it was a 3-year process, and obviously some of that had to do with the pandemic and just putting things on pause. But in general, can you kind of just tell us, how you came about coming up with this idea and then moving into finding a crew, filming it, editing it? Just kind of take us through the cliff notes in a way. Elaborate a little bit for me.
Sure. It's based off a nightmare that I had 10 years ago. And it was one of those dreams.
Great start.
Oh, yeah. It was one of those dreams that I usually can't remember my dreams, but sometimes, you have a dream that it's just so detailed. It was like it was written for you, Like I love that old story of James Cameron, how James Cameron came up with the idea for Terminator. It was from a nightmare. He actually dreamed of the liquid metal Terminator, just this robot made of knives coming after him. And it scared him so much that he had to write it down. And now Terminator is Terminator. Not to compare The Veil to Terminator in any way, but
hey, but you got to start somewhere.
Yeah, you got to start somewhere. I just thought that was interesting because I found that out way after the fact. But this cool. Nightmare was basically, it was a super creepy vibe where it was like almost a period piece because having grown up with just my father in my own life, I guess I was kind of having that manifest in my mind because in the dream, I was a little boy. I was like maybe 6 years old and my dad took me out to this cabin by a cornfield, and it was the dead of night, and we were using lanterns to light our way to like a burial ground where we were trying to bury some sinister secret.
Do you have a dream in the 80s with your lanterns and your cornfield?
I guess. I don't know.
What did you watch before you went to bed?
I don't even know. That was 10 years ago, but right. I remember it so vividly. And
that's so cool.
Yeah, and we were trying to bury something, and then I remember we went to sleep in the dark cabin, but then at night it was almost like scary stories to tell in the dark. It was like we were visited by this sinister apparition of evil that was trying to make us repent for our sins, whatever that was. And like sometimes in a dream, you just know things without being shown or told. And then I woke up with just pure terror waking up. And then it stuck with me for a while. And then when I was still making music videos for other bands, I remember one of my friends, he said, "Oh, it's not hard to write a script. I could write a horror script." And I was like, "It's not that easy, like you could take some classes." He's like, "What? No, there's just beginning, middle, end. No big deal. You put some blood on it, no problem." And I'm like, "Well, it's not that easy, and I'll prove it to you. Like you write something, I'll write something." And he wrote something, and he'll even admit that he thought he had something different than what he wrote down. But I'm always encouraging. I told him, "Well, this works. Start with the positive, and this could work. Why this doesn't make sense, right? And this, that, and so when I wrote something, I was like, I'm going to take that nightmare idea. Finally, I'm going to put that down on paper. So I wrote it as a short, and then when I really started delving into it, building the characters and building the lore, it got so big that it just stopped being a proof of concept for a feature, and it just ended up being a TV pilot for a potential series. And honestly, I wish I could go into it, but I would give away too much. And
Understand.
that's pretty much where the beginning came from. And yeah.
All right, yeah, that's excellent. Yeah, don't give away any details. I highly recommend that people go out there, especially while it's on the circuit. If you have a chance, check it out. We'll be listing the festivals that it'll be at as this episode airs. As of right now, you can go to the YouTube channel that Nick has, and you can check out the awesome creepy trailer that they've made, and hopefully an exclusive streaming content very soon. I'm rooting for you. What's your YouTube channel that people can go to find the trailer if they want to look this up?
I didn't have a YouTube channel for my business, which is Beyond Elusive, where you'll see a bunch of music videos and corporate commercials. We're sort of building that now, and everything sort of happened really fast. So my cinematographer, KR Brooks, who's an amazing cinematographer and editor, definitely saved the film a couple times with technical issues that we had.
Always rely on that DP, that cinematographer. They'll catch
That's
you in a bind, help you out.
He was nice enough to put the trailer on his YouTube channel, where there's a bunch of his horror shorts that he made on there. It's Into the Void Films. So if you just search The Veil short film or Into the Void Films, you'll see it there.
Okay, excellent. And of course, we'll have links in the show notes too, so definitely check it out, everyone. So, Nick, now that you've had this dream, you've written out this proof of concept. It started out you were going to do a short, then it grew into a feature, and then you cut it back down and realized this needs to be a pilot because it got so much lore and story and character building that you want to showcase, which I think is brilliant to do with the horror film to really pull people in. What was your next step to make this thing happen, to start filming it? How did you go about finding your crew?
I went about finding my crew because when I went to Columbia, I made a lot of friends, did a lot of networking, and a lot of them I used for the music videos that I did for my own band as well as others. And when you work well with somebody, you don't let them go. You keep that vibe going and everything. And so I reached out to my friends and some of the people and that they knew. I reached out to the cinematographer that I've used so many times, KR Brooks. I can't say enough good words about him. His cinematography is impeccable. And I reached out to a couple other people to be an assistant director, some production assistants, some gaffers. Some of the people I didn't meet, some of the gaffers that we used were friends of these friends. And they just loved to be, some of them just were so happy to be on a project with this sort of story. They really believed in the story, and they thought, with just how fun I try to keep it on set, they just wanted to look forward to a good time, which is what I want for everybody.
Yes, that's always a great attitude, because when you carry that on your set, especially as an indie filmmaker, it makes everyone really happy to be there. It makes them want to be more involved and really help you out. So I think that's great that you treated your set with that kind of respect and that kind of fun.
Oh, of course. Yeah. And then when it came to casting, it's funny enough, the singer of my old band, I actually sort of structured the part to kind of mirror his talents because he wanted to get into acting. And he was the one that kind of, we had the friendly writing contest. And he's actually a really decent actor. He did some classes at Second City over here, and that's how we met Marissa Folia, who played Stacy, the main character in the first episode. And then we kind of went through a few people to play her brother, Kevin. You can see all that. It'll make sense in the trailer. But
of course,
yeah, there's Stacy and Kevin. They're both siblings, and Stacy's the main character of this episode. And we were trying to audition a little bit for the role of Kevin, and then I remembered it was actually my old boss from my old job who was a horror film fanatic, unbelievably funny and talented actor who recently kind of, he didn't get the best chances to really spread his wings and show his talents in some of the horror shorts that he was in before. And I thought this would be a good opportunity for him. And I think he fits, visually and just emotionally in the part. And so we had him read, and then eventually he proved himself to where if you actually give the guy a few lines, he can actually be really convincing and do a good job. And so we cast him as Kevin, and we cast a few other people. And then we basically got a shooting schedule together. I financed everything myself. I didn't go through crowdfunding or anything like that.
I'm glad you brought that up too, because I was going to ask you, with a project like this, getting this crew together, filming, all that stuff that goes into it financially. If you can elaborate on just kind of a general idea of the use of the finance that you had to go through, how you came about financing stuff. Was it just you financing it, or were you able to get a little bit of source money from your friends that helped out from your job beyond Elusive? And, can you just kind of elaborate on the financial gain that you might have right now, if there is any? Just kind of take us through some of that too. I just want to let people out there know that, of course, it does take money sometimes to get these projects going, and you are usually yourself investing heavily. Was there any kind of gain for you from this? Did you get any kind of monetary benefit back?
Not at all. It's all exposure and just networking. The best thing an independent writer, director, filmmaker can do, for example, with Robert Rodriguez, the best thing an independent filmmaker can do is write to his or her resources. If you have access to, your uncle owns a bar, have your short revolve around that bar, because he's probably going to let you do it on a Sunday when it's dead in there.
Right.
And so luckily I have a lot of great friends.
Networking is where it comes in. It's where it works beautifully.
Yes. Luckily, I have a lot of great friends that don't charge me an arm and a leg, and they just want to get projects on their reel. You got to be working. You're only as good as your latest project. And so there was that. And also, I have to give a shout out to one of my friends, Eric Lidke, who did pretty much all the location sound for free, because he just wanted to have his name on something and he wanted to be a part of this project. He was very proud of it. And so I want to thank him personally.
Yeah, it's amazing when you can get people like that really want to help out, that believe in what you're doing and want to be a part of that. And it also helps them. I think that's wonderful.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And so, yeah, it's just, the constant hustle. I have a 9 to 5. I have my side business, and that allows me to not have to rely on investors or crowdfunding or anything like that. So we've all been working very, very hard. And like I said, it took 3 years because of the pandemic and unforeseen circumstances. And we're all just very proud. We were all kind of shedding a tear at the premiere.
Nice.
So yeah,
that's definitely something to be proud of too, because you tackled something big. It's not just a short. I mean, you made a 24-minute pilot. This isn't like a 7 to 10 minute short that you did. You put a lot of effort into this, and now you've got it. You filmed. You've got your locations. You got your amazing crew, and then you go into your editing. Was it all you? Did you have some help with that as well? And could you go over maybe some software that you could recommend for people who want to do this project for something like this for themselves?
Sure, but if I could touch on one more thing that I forgot to,
please, by all means.
2 people I also want to thank is Francis Malozzi. I hope I'm saying that right, Francis Malozzi, and Brandon Borgman, who did the SFX makeup, because there was extensive SFX makeup, prosthetic makeup also. The extensive prosthetic makeup that went into this film, they were so amazing with what they were able to pull off. They were like scientists, and it was just amazing to watch them work day in and day out. And they cut me a few breaks too, because when we applied heavy prosthetics on the one actress that plays a supernatural character in the movie, we fitted her and everything. We had a costume designer, Gabrielle Cross was the costume designer, did an amazing job with the supernatural character. And that was one of the unforeseen circumstances that happened, was that when we had the actress who was very tall and had very long, creepy hands, which you'll see in the trailer, you'll see some of the claws kind of appearing around corners.
It's one of the really cool moments. Yeah, I like that trailer.
But that actress was costume fitted, had the prosthetics fitted. She had her whole head molded, casted for everything. Then the pandemic hit, and then a year and a half later, everybody gets vaccinated. Everyone's like, oh, is this film even going to happen anymore? We still have half of it to shoot. I reached out to everybody. I said, does everybody feel okay? Everybody's vaccinated. Okay, let's go tomorrow. Can you do it tomorrow? And I won't say her name, but I reached out to that actress, and she just up and quit after all the costume fitting and the facial casting, the prosthetics that were applied. All that stuff isn't cheap, and it's a lot of work. And she just walked away from it, and that hurt. That was pretty bad.
The hazards of filmmaking.
I know. It's all trial and error. You never know. That's why you stick with the reliable people that you work really well with. Those people are special, and they're very vital, when you build your team, because you never know who's going to flake out on you. And it's happened time and time again, whether it was I was in music or whether just doing business, it's just people, and you have to stick with the good people. And luckily, Gabrielle Cross, who was our costume designer, is very good people, because she stepped up to the plate. She said, well, I could fit myself for the costume, and I'm a cosplayer, so you guys can, mold a cast of my head and put the prosthetics on me and I'll do it. And we were like,
That's
really?
amazing.
Wow. And she
Yeah.
saved the film. She was
Gabrielle for the win.
Gabrielle for the win. Yeah, she was the second person out of maybe 10 that saved this movie. This movie had so much saving. I really want to thank Gabrielle Cross for stepping up to the plate, because then there would be no film. And another fun fact is that Francis and Brandon, who did the prosthetic makeup, they were students of J. Anthony Kozar, who is pretty well known around the Chicagoland area. He does work on Chicago PD, Chicago Fire. He recently did the prosthetics and the SFX makeup semi-recently with the Candyman remake.
Oh, phenomenal.
Yes. And so that was really cool to see him posting pictures from set and everything. And he actually did that's how we met him. He did prosthetic makeup for one of my old band's music videos. And obviously he's a horror fanatic. He won, I believe, season 5 of Face Off, that makeup show.
Yeah, it's a great show. I come from a background in special effects makeup. I went to the Savini program up in Monessen, Pennsylvania. And I met a lot of really great people the semesters that I was there. And a few of those folks actually went on to be in Face Off. I believe one was a runner-up, another person won. Just so many talented people come from that show.
Oh, of course. Yes. And I haven't watched the show too much, but I definitely watched the clips when we were talking to Anthony Kozar about doing makeup. And he was the first person I reached out to. And unfortunately, he's a very busy man. And so I already sort of knew Francis and Brandon. They were students of his. They're geniuses. I can't say enough good things about them either. And without them, there would not be a movie.
Right. Again, it's where your networking comes into play. It's how you meet people and work with them and network them, and you use what you know. You work with what you have. I think that's awesome.
Yes, absolutely. And we shot even. And yeah, again, like I said, writing to your resources, we shot some scenes here in my house, and we shot at Donovan De Leon's house. He played Kevin. We shot the dining room scene there. Funny enough, you would think otherwise, but it is extremely difficult to find a creepy basement to shoot in that somebody will let you shoot in Chicago. You would think that in Chicago, there's buildings, apartment buildings, these old Art Deco buildings everywhere.
Surely there's something.
Right. But yeah, it was so difficult. I reached out to all my Facebook friends, all my filmmaker friends, until eventually I went to, I forgot what it's called. I think it's the Chicago Film Alliance. So it was a Facebook group of filmmakers. And I just put a post there. I said, hi, filmmaker looking for creepy basement to shoot for one night, paid. This is a paid gig and everything. And then, funny enough, somebody responded who knew some of the filmmakers that I went to school with and lived 20 minutes away from my house. And it was super convenient and it looked great. And we used it in the film. And they pretty much let us do whatever we wanted. Usually if you're tried to make a short film or you're a filmmaker at all, if you're shooting on location, it's very difficult. People are very anal about their homes or their property. They don't want anything broken. They're like, oh, you're making too much noise. Okay, you got to cut it off now. Oh, we're only halfway done. But, he didn't let us wreck the place. We weren't supposed to wreck the place, but we definitely left our mark there. And he was like, oh, it's cool, man.
See, I love that. I love when you get to see networking in action, when you get to see how all these pieces start to fit together and everyone just chips in. I think that's wonderful. So you got all this going on. You've got your locations, like you just explained. You're filming. You have your upsets with, certain actors can't follow through. Things come up. It happens in filmmaking. It's the hazards of what you try and do. But you've got this film now. It's completed. You get into your editing time to get ready for these film festivals. How was that process for you? Did you have help editing? And is there any software out there that maybe you use that you would recommend for others to look into? Could you take me through a little bit of that?
Sure. Yes. We filmed it all in 4K. On the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K. I'm surprised I said that right first try.
It's very wordy.
Yes, very wordy. And some of it was shot on a Sony A7 III. So we kind of mixed those two together. And since it's 4K, I remember I tried to edit it myself on my laptop on Adobe Premiere, but it couldn't handle the 4K files. So I eventually got DaVinci Resolve. And I was going to have K.R. Brooks edit it, but he was very busy with other projects. He was doing a feature at the time. So I thought, okay, I've come this far, all the hurdles I've overcome with this film, fine, I'll learn DaVinci and as I go. So basically because also when we shot in the basement scene that we shot, K.R. Brooks couldn't make it, and he had a prior engagement, so I actually had to temporarily replace him with another cinematographer. His name is Eric Enberg. He's another fantastic artist, unbelievable cinematographer, and all-around great guy. And he really stepped up to the plate too, and he really knocked it out of the park with also providing sound equipment and everything. It was as if nothing changed. And after that, I basically used DaVinci to get kind of the rough cut together. I was like, okay, this is basically how it's going to look. And then I gave the project file to Eric, and he put it in DaVinci Resolve, and he has the master setup. He's got 2 curved screens. He's got a bunch of hard drives, and he's just a master of DaVinci. And if you're working with 4K footage and you don't want to use proxy files to make up for anything, or, just seamless editing, I would highly suggest DaVinci. It's not a monthly subscription like Adobe is, and you have amazing results. The denoiser effects, the degraining effects are amazing. It's like magic. It's like movie magic. And so once I got the rough cut together, learning DaVinci as I went, I brought it to Eric, and we both worked on it together. And it was a pretty lengthy process because we had even some corrupted audio files. So we had to do some ADR, which we did at his house. And we did very little special effects with masking and some green screen. And Corey Turek, my business partner at Beyond Elusive, he did all of that stuff, and he's another genius. I'm just surrounded by geniuses, and I just kind of mooch off of their great work. I'm like, okay. They're like, oh, this film actually turned out pretty good. You should be proud. I'm like, well, I got a lot of great geniuses. I just surround myself by great geniuses, and I just give them some ideas, and they're like, all right, let's make it happen.
It sounds to me like you yourself are a genius as well. I mean, you went through this whole process. You're very clever about what you've gone about doing. You know what you want. You went for it. You pulled your resources and you used all of them appropriately, and you made everyone a part of the team. Yes, this was your project, but it became, to me, what sounds like a team project. I mean, everyone stepped up. They jumped in on this. They helped out. They gave it their all. And that really helps bring it together. And I mean, look at you now. You got in the circuit festivals out there. It's doing well. You have an amazing trailer up right now, which I highly recommend. Again, link in the show notes. Check it out. Support Nick in this amazing pilot series, The Veil. All right, just taking a quick little break here. Nick has been kind enough to grant us with an audio file of his trailer for The Veil. And if you like what you're listening to, please do yourself a favor. Go to the show notes, click on that YouTube link, and watch this trailer. And if you get a chance and you're in the Chicago area or any other areas where the films are playing for the short film festivals, watch The Veil.
Hi.
Hello?
Having some trouble there, Tony? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to make you uncomfortable. It's just, I just moved here and I don't really know anybody yet. My name's Stacy.
Hey, how did you know my name?
I work from home mostly and these walls are so thin,
Stacy, you're obviously sick. Please just let me help you. What's this? Have you been hurting yourself again?
It has nothing to do with that.
Stacy!
No, it's real. I know what's happening.
No, you don't, Stacy.
All right, creepy stuff. That was The Veil. And once again, there are links in the show notes for YouTube. Go check out this trailer, and as soon as The Veil is available to watch, I'm sure you'll all get a chance to enjoy it. It's amazing. And if you're at the film festivals, go out there and support these other talented artists as well as Nick and The Veil. Now, back to the session. Nick, I want to move along now into some questions here, just to kind of, and you've already elaborated on some of these things through your whole process of what you've been doing, but maybe something else might come to mind. So my first question for you is, what was the biggest challenge you had to overcome? And maybe it's even something that you're still working on.
Oh boy. There are two that stand out. Not sure if I should mention one of them, but we can decide that later.
Hey, just share your experience. This is all about you. This is your journey. This is your experience. There are other filmmakers out there that want to do what you do, and your story will help them. So just share it.
Okay. Well, like I said, we had some casting issues, and we had two actors basically bail at the last minute when we already had footage shot of them. And there were multiple times where we weren't sure the project was ever going to be completed or even move forward because, we already shot footage of these people that left and we can't get them back. They stopped returning my phone calls and everything. And so it was a matter of, do we cut our losses? Do we just reshoot with different actors? We're already 2.5 years into this because of the pandemic and other things. So that was just an anxiety inducing, so stressful. But I decided I couldn't bring myself to reshoot the footage that we shot. One, because it was so good and everybody did an amazing job. And number two, it would take way too much time. It would have been another year or so, or 2 years, depending on when we completed for when the deadlines were for the festivals I wanted to get into. So when the second actress quit, who was playing one of the main characters, basically we pulled a Brandon Lee from The Crow. And if you're familiar with The Crow, Brandon Lee died 75% through filming The Crow, and they contemplated shutting down production, but they utilized stand-ins, reshooting some scenes where people are in shadow, and they actually got away with completing the film where you don't see a difference. And that's basically what we did as well. We had about 2 scenes left to shoot when one of the actresses quit, and we decided to recast and keep the footage that we already shot. So we kept some of it in shadow. We kind of altered the camera angles, and we got another actress that I swear I don't know how, but we found that actor's doppelganger. And we made up the actor's hair, put contacts in the actor's eyes, put them in the same wardrobe, and honestly, it really worked. I was surprised, and everybody else were very surprised when it worked. And obviously that's not something that we bring up, but when it is mentioned just for fun, it's very shocking to some audience members and some people that watched it.
I mean, that's genius. That is a huge challenge to face, and definitely you overcame it, and very smart on you guys' part to push forward and get creative and pull from your history of filming knowledge. I think that's wonderful.
Yeah, well, it was scary. That's what it was. I'll tell you that. And but luckily it really worked out. Again, I just the whole crew also believed in the story, but since we were 2.5 years in when that happened, even they were like, "No, man, like let's band together. We're in this with you. We have too much skin in the game. We need to help Nick finish this." And so now we've all become family in the process, and it's just
Wonderful.
super heartwarming and just super humbling experience to be surrounded by these great friends and family that believed in the project so much, and they're just so proud of it, and I'm proud of them too. And the second thing that was the biggest struggle was, I kid you not, hours before the premiere. I think we had it August 19th, I believe. It was back in August, late August. We had the premiere, like I said, at Facets here in Chicago. And I remember we had some corrupted files in the export. The export, because it was just, again, unforeseen circumstances. Some things were taking a little longer than they should have. And, to no one's fault, we ended up exporting the final product literally the night before the premiere. And so I'm biting my nails, I'm freaking out. And then I remember I was up at midnight the night before, and the screening was at 9 p.m. the next day. I remember just waiting at my computer to get the exported file. And when I watched it, I watched the full 24 minutes, and there were glitches here. There was sound missing there. And I damn near had a heart attack. And I just communicated with my editor, who was trying to go to bed within the next 2 hours because he had a 12-hour shoot the next day. He wasn't able to make the premiere, so he had to do that. And then I called him up. I'm like, hey man, there's stuff missing and something happened. Can you please fix it? The premiere is in 10 hours. and then so we were both in a super cranky mood, and I did not sleep that night at all. I may have slept 5 minutes, and it probably did more damage than help. But then I finally got the export literally at 7 a.m. that day. And then I got everything together, made sure I was able to play it properly in the projection booth at the theater. And also I had my best friend, who was the guitar player in my previous band, Matthew Spidey Flores. He goes by just Spidey. He is an amazing guitar player. I had him open up the screening by, plugging in an amp and just playing a little bit of guitar to a drum track and just kind of soloing and things like that to kind of get everybody settled in, get everybody liquored up and get popcorn, get candy, all that good stuff. And I also had another artist who his name is Ryan Anderson, but he goes by the name Rhino the Neurosurgeon. He is an amazing rapper, and I had him do some freestyle after the guitar playing. Because it's a 24-minute long short, I thought, oh, that's not enough to justify people driving out a half hour or whatever to find parking. I want there to be a little bit more entertainment, people to stick around. So yeah, guitar playing, freestyle rap, and then I did a little bit of an announcement, and I was amazed. I had family, friends, colleagues, mutual friends, people in the industry. We packed that theater. Granted, it's not the biggest theater. It's not like a Lowe's or anything. It's just a small little community theater, probably, 300 seats, 200 seats, something like that.
That's still impressive.
Well, we pretty much filled it. That place was pretty much filled. And we had such a great time. And then I was just so relieved that, because I was sleep deprived, I was already drinking, I was hosting, I was super stressed, making sure everybody knew where to go, making sure the film was going to play okay, the sound was okay, no other mishaps. And then once the lights dimmed down, I can't even tell you the overwhelming feeling of relief I had the day that I thought would never come. 3 years in the making. Finally, I was at the microphone talking to the whole audience, explaining this crazy, chaotic journey that this film took to get to this very point, and how grateful we all were that everybody came out that night. And I just said, everybody, here's the veil. And the lights dimmed down, and I sat down in the front row, and I saw the intro come up, and it was like a dream come true. It was so cathartic for everybody. It was a dream come true. And then we all watched it. Everybody loved it. Everyone had, their little notes. They like this, they like that. They had questions. They even had questions about some of the characters and the lore. They were like, does this mean this? And I'm like, yes, it does. Or no, close, but you got to find out. And then people loved it. They loved it so much that I remember we had a few people in the audience. I don't care. I like to keep my sets fun, and I like to keep a premiere fun. If you want to watch the movie, if you want to shout something out, as long as you're not ruining the movie and you're just adding to the experience, I I had a few people come up. They were like, "Oh no, that person's in trouble." Oh, was I a jerk for yelling that out loud? I'm like, no, you're adding to the experience. It's great.
It makes it wonderful. It's an experience. Exactly.
Right. And that's what I want. I want an experience, whether we're making it or we're watching it. That's just how I grew up. Some people want to get together. They want to go to the bar. They want to drink. I like getting together and watching a movie, and
who doesn't?
One person in the audience, they yelled out, "Play it again. Play it again." And I was like, no, they don't want to watch this again. And then people started cheering a little bit. And I was like, all right, I'll advocate a little bit. Everybody, show of hands, who wants to watch it again? And pretty much everybody raised their hands. And I was just like, wow, okay. And I look up at the guy in the projection booth and I give him a thumbs up. I'm like, are we good? Do we have time? We have a time limit, right? And he's like, yeah, we could go again. I'm like, all right, for the second time, The Veil. And,
that's amazing. I mean, dude, it sounds like you were just faced with constant challenges, but to hear how this all played out for you in the end is wonderful. And, I was going to ask a question that I feel like you've answered actually multiple times. And my question for you was, what was something unexpected you had to face, maybe even something that you learned in the moment? And I feel like that with the editing, with the last minute right before the premiere that came up, that was totally unexpected. You had your actress that you went through the mold making, the costume fitting, you were ready to go, and then of course they couldn't come back. So you obviously had these unexpected challenges. Is there anything that actually stands out that you may want to elaborate on more? Was there anything other than those situations that was truly unexpected that just completely caught you off guard and you learned something brand new in the moment how to do it?
Oh yeah, actually I forgot to mention number 3.
There you go.
It was I swear, because we were getting everything going. It was right at the beginning, and we were getting everything going. We had a schedule. Everybody was cast. We had the crew. We were ready to go. And literally the first day of shooting didn't happen. It got canceled because we were supposed to shoot in a hallway. You can see that in the trailer. The first kind of clips you see are 2 people talking in a hallway. The original hallway location we were supposed to shoot in was supposed to be somewhere on the south side. And it was through a mutual friend that we talked to an actor who lived in an apartment complex that, they were cool with people shooting in there and everything. And it was kind of a Stanley Kubrickian kind of long hallway, red carpet, super creepy, because it deals with people in these apartment complexes.
Sounds perfect.
Right. It was perfect. And we visited there. We scouted the location. We made sure that there were sufficient number of outlets for the lights, all that sort of thing, that there were room for the cameras. It was going to work logistically. The actor who owned the apartment there, she said, yeah, you guys can come in. I'll make you guys some food. You don't need to worry about crafty. You guys can use my apartment. You guys can use the hallway and everything. So we had all the gear. Some people slept at my house. And then we drove there. And when we drove there, the whole place was locked. The actor was not answering their phone. And we sat around for about 2-3 hours, just getting more and more annoyed and angry. And I was that person. I was basically blowing up that person's phone saying, yo, where are you? We have a schedule, we're here to do a project. You should know, you're an actor. And then maybe a half hour later, the actor texts me back, oh, I'm sorry about that. Can we do it tomorrow? I had to go to church. I don't know why. That made me extra mad.
The frustrations of those things, they happen too. I mean, that's so aggravating. Yeah.
And as you know, when you're filming things, especially, you're using your friends or utilizing people that already work in the industry, that they don't even have a 9 to 5, they work on a project by project basis. They got to be on set 12-hour days. It's so hard to get 2 or 3 people on the same page, on the same schedule, on the same day, let alone 8. And right. So that's always a miracle to get that done. So the fact that just the sheer inconsideration of oh, can we just move it to tomorrow? I had this planned for 2 weeks. So that was the first day of shooting. And it was so discouraging. We all just went to my house and I just slipped into a pretty deep depression, but all my friends were there to kind of be like, you know what, don't worry, if anything, it'll work out for the better. And it actually did. We found a better location, better people, and that's the location that you see in the trailer and what you will see in the film.
Excellent. That's fantastic. Again, Matt, just constant challenges, constant unexpected things just happening. And those are a lot of the troubles that will come up. It's a lot of the hazards that you'll see when you go out there to be a filmmaker yourself. For anyone listening, this is the stuff that you're going to run into. No matter how well you plan it and organize it, there's going to be things that just change on the fly, and you've got to adapt and you've got to move forward. So I want to ask you another tough question here. And I feel like you have answered a lot of these already, but what's a hard reality you've had to deal with and accept? Something discouraging that you pushed through or resolved? And it may be something that, you never got it resolved, but it was a hard fact of life for filmmaking that there was nothing to be done about it. You just had to accept it and move forward.
Well, yeah, what I'll say is that there was more of the pilot that I wanted to shoot. I guess I wanted to shoot the climax of the pilot to kind of give more of a idea of the vibe and the stylistic look we were going for. I really wanted to shoot in this abandoned church that I've shot in before in Gary, Indiana. It's a dilapidated church that just looks amazing on camera. And I really wanted to utilize that, but then I believe they shot the remake of Nightmare on Elm Street there, and I guess it got so decrepit and dangerous that it actually became condemned, and the Indiana Film Office just totally denied any access to it or any film permits on it. So I kind of had to, bite the bullet on that one. I had to just, you roll with the punches, and then that's filmmaking. Sometimes, you could write out everything, you can storyboard everything, but then, I believe in happy accidents. I don't try to just stick to the script 100%, and I don't try to stick to choices 100%. And obviously, there's a method to the madness. I don't want to just promote pure chaos, but sometimes I like to let the movie become what it's going to become regardless and not fight it. And as much as I wanted that climax sequence, it just wasn't meant to be. If anything, it would have made the short a little too long. So, in my mind, it's like, I really wanted that. But maybe it's not always about what I want, but what the film needs.
Very well put. I like that. All right. I'm going to bring in some more lighthearted, happy moments now. Okay. We've talked about all the BS that you've had to deal with through this project. So let's talk about the fun stuff. What to you was the most valuable takeaway that you learned from your experience? Something that helped you grow and improve as an artist?
Be persistent. Don't give up. Even if you have to potentially start over or not do the project at all, you have to stick to your guns. That's the one thing the big takeaway from this film that I got, the growth that I feel that I made as a filmmaker and just an artist in general, is you have to be true to your vision. You have to be true to what you want. But again, it's not always about what you want. It's what serves the story or serves the project. And yeah, you just have to just go where the wave takes you. You just and keep it fun, because really you're building a community, and when you're paying people, you're creating jobs for people that are very talented and they're very passionate about movies, and just trying to remind everybody why we're here, why we're doing this. It's hard to remember that sometimes, to kind of keep your inner child. It's like, what's the reason you wanted to work on films in the first place? Usually it's not for monetary gain, but it's because you want to be a part of something special. You can't be afraid to not get too attached to something and maybe move on. Maybe this project wasn't meant to happen, and I definitely dealt with those thoughts and those feelings with this project, but I just saw every obstacle that was put in front of me as a test. It wasn't like, maybe it's not meant to be. It would have felt like quitting. If the things weren't working, then maybe I could have come to that realization. But I'm really glad we all persisted, because, I think we got something really special. And by no means is it perfect, but it's definitely perfect for what it is for us. And we're very proud of it.
Thank you for sharing that. And I feel like, that's a great answer too, because honestly, I don't know how you would have gotten this thing accomplished if you and your team were not persistent because of all the struggles that came up. I mean, before I even got into the questions, you were already letting us know the hard challenges and unexpected situations that just constantly came up left and right. And again, that's just the hazards of filmmaker, but being persistent and dedicated and knowing your vision and what you want to do and treating your crew with respect, with, fun times, making it a loving and fun environment is the best way to proceed with that. So I highly, highly agree with what you just said. I think that's a wonderful takeaway to have. And, we talked earlier again about unexpected situations, but I want to ask you about something that you did expect. What did you want from this project?
I wanted to create that vibe that I had in that initial nightmare. That nightmare from 10 years ago, I wanted to really recreate that vibe of uneasiness and suspense and terror and gloom that I felt. And I
give people the goosebumps.
Right. I feel that I was really able to do that by really sitting down and thinking about it again and having discussions with the crew. I always say communication is key. You have to have a vision. You have to have an answer for every question that is brought to you by any department, makeup, camera department, editing. I had the whole movie in my mind, but the one thing that I didn't have in my mind was the music. I did not want to use any stock music or, stock drone noises or anything like that. So that was another struggle that we went through. I won't name names. I'll keep it professional, but I reached out about hiring a composer. Now, with me being the old school person that I am, I'm a huge Tim Burton fan, and because I'm a huge Tim Burton fan, I love Danny Elfman as a composer.
Who doesn't? Who doesn't love Danny Elfman?
I love the orchestra and the creepy choir and the harmonization, that stuff.
How does he make horror jolly in a way? That's another thing I love about Danny Elfman's music is he can make a soundtrack extremely eerie and creepy and at the same time fun and kind of excitable.
Yeah, you mix those minor chords with some whimsical singing and melodies and music, and that's what's so fascinating about that. And so that was always a big example that I brought to the table when interviewing composers. And I settled on a composer that was based out of the UK, had extensive conversations a year in advance because that was during COVID. I was overly prepping a year in advance, talking to people, and he got the right idea. He had the means to do so. He worked with some big artists. Obviously, everything looked really good on paper. And then once we finally shot some new footage, I gave him my notes of kind of what I wanted, but also not putting him in a box. I really wanted him to bring his own take to it because it was the first time he ever was going to compose a film like this. But he always wanted to do video games and films and things like that. And usually maybe that would deter people because they would want someone with experience. But I liked that, actually. I'm a big believer in the underdog, with people like Quentin Tarantino and all these, or Kevin Smith, who just made Clerks on a shoestring budget. He was a first-time filmmaker. A lot of first-timers, there's an ode to that. And I was like, you know what? You're really passionate about it. Let's work with a first-timer. You'll bring a really fresh take, And so I gave him some footage and I gave him some detailed notes, but also gave him room to put in his own. And what he did was nothing like what we talked about, not even what he talked about. And then after that, he said, yeah, well, I'm going to quit being a musician. Sorry. I hope you find someone else. How many times is this going to happen? Wow.
Oh, goodness.
Like it literally felt like I was cursed, or like this film was cursed. I kept thinking that over and over. I just couldn't catch a break. But then when I announced this person as the composer, I had a mutual friend of my guitar player friend who I mentioned before, Spidey Flores. This person's name is Josh Andrade. He is an amazing musician and composer. I met him once at like a birthday party at Spidey's house. And I remember he was talking about all sorts of music, rap music, rock music. He just loves music in general. And I remember he played guitar. He played an acoustic guitar with someone else. They did like dueling impromptu acoustic guitar kind of battle thing. And I was like, wow, this kid's really talented. And then that was the last time I saw him. That was probably like 5 years ago. And then when I posted that I hired a composer, which was this other guy, he said, hey man, that's really cool. You're doing a lot of big things. If you ever need help, let me know. So when the first guy bailed, I was like, hey, can I take you up on doing the entire film? And, and he was very nervous, I guess he said. He told me he was very nervous about just taking on a project of this caliber, which I thought was funny because, you know, I'm just me. I'm just Nick. You know, I'm just some kid with ADD trying to get geniuses together to bring my vision to life. And he's making it seem like it's really big. And I'm just like, well, I'm glad you think so, man. You know, you're a passionate guy. You're a first timer too. Let's try it out. And it worked out so well. He did such an amazing job. You can actually hear what he did. He actually made a custom track solely for the trailer that you can see and what you saw on YouTube. And
That's good.
He just pulled that out of thin air in like 2 days. I said, hey dude, would you mind doing something for the trailer? I want to get a trailer together. He's like, I got you, bro. And he just did it.
I mean, he's got a gift. He's definitely talented, and it definitely works for you guys. Man, you just, again, constant walls you keep running into.
But it always worked out for the better.
You know, it does.
And that's what kept me going. You know, if like it took 6 months to find a composer, and it wasn't just this guy that literally showed up right after that tragic moment happened, you know, I was just like, okay, this is a sign. I just need to be patient, and I need to let things happen as they go. And now Josh is potentially getting more gigs as a composer, and I'm promoting all of his work right now. Josh Andrade, you can see him on Instagram, Andrade Productions. He does, you know, vocals, does rap music, rock music, and now he does movie soundtracks. He never thought he would, but
that's excellent.
He surprisingly enjoys it, and he wants to do more, and he wants to do research, you know, to do more projects with me and other people.
Well, it sounds like he did a great job helping you out, especially in a tight bind. So IPA Sessions is happy to put his word out there, put his information out there. Go check out Andre's Instagram, everyone. And, you know, I'm glad that you said a minute ago, with all the stuff that happens, you know, it tends to work in your favor, and that's what keeps you going. And that leads me to my next question. What's your drive, Nick? What motivates you?
I don't know. I think I do know, but man, I don't ever put it in words. So I'll do it. I'll do my best. What drives me? What drives me? I don't really care about monetary gain. I don't care about money, even though it takes money to fund these projects, but you know, that's the last thing I think about. I just want to make something special. I just want to, you know, whether it is a music video or a feature or a TV show, I want to create experiences, because the world can be pretty rough sometimes, and it's all about community. You know, one person can't make a film, one person can't make a TV show. You know, I'm a people person. I like bringing people together and having everybody be passionate and excited about something, and just creation and just networking and growing and getting bigger and doing bigger projects, and hopefully doing something that a lot of people can see and a lot of people can come together and just enjoy. You know, whether it's a drama where people can cry together, or a comedy where people can laugh together, or when people can be horrified at a horror film and all gasp together. I love storytelling. I'm a big believer in stories shape us. They shape our lives. It's definitely had an impression on me growing up, you know, with a single father and us bonding over me being 7 years old, and if I'm brave enough to watch The Exorcist, you know, those are memories. You know, I want to create memories and moments, and I feel that I can really get people together to at least make something and, just have fun doing it.
I mean, yeah, what's a better motivation than wanting to tell a story, maybe even tell your story, and to share that with others. It's the whole reason why we do this podcast, is to share your personal experience, your journey, what you've been through, so that others that, listen can feel inspired and know that, like, all right, Nick can do this, I can do this. And you've prepared them for everything to anticipate and what's coming ahead and how to handle that. And you've already given them more of a step up than you yourself had. So I really appreciate you sharing that. I really appreciate you just being here today, sharing, your personal experience with what you've been doing for this project, the amazing team that you assembled, all the excellent things happening right now for your short film, soon to be TV series. And I just have one last question for you. And that is, do you have any advice or something that you would like to say to anyone out there that wants to be a filmmaker like you?
Just make films. Everybody, you could make a feature film on an iPhone. It's so easy to do. If you're really trying to break into the industry or just be an artist, make something every weekend if you can. Just make content, because perfection isn't real. If you just spend 3 years by choice, on one project, you're only going to get so far. And I'm not saying just crank things out without thinking about them, but just try to do as much as you can, get in front of as many people as you can. And if anything, I learned a lot of lessons from great filmmakers like Martin Scorsese and Francis Ford Coppola, who have all shared similar nightmare stories with big studio films, like Francis Ford Coppola with Apocalypse Now. He had to deal with here I am crying about actors quitting and, sets falling through, but he had to deal with hurricanes and he had to deal with actors having
They got an excellent 2-hour documentary all about the hell he went through for Apocalypse.
Right. When you watch Heart of Darkness, right? When you watch Heart of Darkness, you just see nightmare after nightmare after nightmare. And then you just realize, wow, he just kept going. He didn't let any of that stop him. And then when you watch Apocalypse Now and you have all that in mind, it resonates with you a little bit more, because I firmly believe that you get back what you put in. And I thought, if they can do it, I certainly can do it. And if anything, take that from me too. Don't let anything stop you. If you feel that you really need to do something or make something, even just for the sake of making it, just to prove that you can. And it's honestly a great feeling when the world is against you and you just forget about it and you don't stop. And then finally you're there and you watch it, and the moment you've been fantasizing about for so long happens. It honestly makes you feel like you're invincible and you can do anything. And I can only hope to spread that message to anybody in any industry who's trying to do anything. Don't give up.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. This is going to be kind of redundant because you've been talking this whole time, but I'm giving this platform back over to you again. Please put yourself out there. Where can people find you? How can they stay connected with what's happening with the Veil for updates? Maybe even get a chance to go to one of the festivals. Just put everything out there for us. Tell us how to find you, Nick.
Yes, absolutely. You can definitely see some of the progression with the production of the Veil on Instagram if you search The Veil short film. You can also check out my company that produced the short film and some other music videos that we do branding and graphics and all of that fun stuff.
And your company is Beyond Elusive, right?
Yes, that's also on Instagram if you just search Beyond Elusive, BeyondElusive. And you can check out the trailer at Into the Void Films on YouTube, soon to be on the Beyond Elusive YouTube channel. And yeah, I believe that's it for now. And there'll definitely will be more. And I know that I can definitely share some behind the scenes footage, which I'm very eager to show, because I didn't know if that would ever be, if it was ever logical to show that stuff. So I'm excited to share that with you.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's pretty much all the platforms that I have.
And for anyone listening, again, all links will be in the show notes. Please check it out. Go there, support Nick, support his incredible team, and definitely support The Veil. Do yourself a favor, check out that trailer. And if you can, check out his short, The Veil.
Thank you so much for having me, man.
No problem, man. I really appreciate you coming on. This was a great conversation today. I really loved having this session with you. I feel that I've learned a lot as someone that, not only do I podcast, I like to write. I want to make films with my friends. I've listened to a lot of what you have to say and what you've shared today, and I think applying that to my own process will be really beneficial. So thank you so much for sharing with us today. Really appreciate you putting yourself out there, putting The Veil out there, and I wish you nothing but success. And I hope that not only do I get to watch The Veil soon, but I also get to see it in an episodic series. So I'm rooting for you, man. And to all my listeners out there, I hope today that you found the inspiration you needed, especially for young filmmakers, old filmmakers, in the middle filmmakers, anyone out there that just wants to tell their story. I hope that you found some inspiration from Nick today. And until the next time, everyone, stay golden. Thanks for listening. Please be sure to rate and review and click that subscribe button for new bi-weekly episodes. As always, the theme music is provided by The Erica Page. Follow us on social media at IPA Sessions Podcast. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and now we have a TikTok and YouTube. All information and links are in the show notes. So show some love and support for these amazing indie artists. And if you'd like to come on and share your journey as an independent artist, reach out to me via email at ipasessionspodcast@gmail.com. Till next time, I hope you found some inspirations for practical application in entertainment.